Today's voiceover talent is more than just a pretty voice. Today's voiceover talent has to be a boss, a VO boss. Set yourself up with business owner strategies and success with your host, Anne Ganguzza, along with some of the strongest voices in our industry. Rock your business like a boss, a VO boss.
Gabby, in this digital age, marketing your business is so tough. Like, how do you cut beyond the chaos of everything that is flying at you at millions of miles an hour?
It's a challenge. It's a challenge for everybody. And it's one of the reasons why our podcast and our services have been so focused on helping people to market and to brand themselves more effectively.
And, Gabby, I know you and I have both run into, as voiceover industry matures and evolves, like, we are constantly out there cultivating leads and finding new ways to try to get in front of our potential clients. And we have actually come up with a really, I think, a great product called the Boss Blast, which is essentially a branded and targeted email campaign directed at a customized group of clients.
It's been super successful. We've had a lot of sales with this product. We've had a lot of voice actors signing up for it. It's probably our number one seller now, and we're every time we build one, I'm so proud of what we're accomplishing with them because they look amazing. The graphic design is just killer, and then we're able to see the response that these actors are getting from these efforts, which is fantastic.
We are getting some amazing results, and to see these campaigns have success where people are getting better than average open response rate is just amazing. These are creative buyers that have already been vetted and are waiting for email from you.
Yeah, we're in fourth quarter of the year. It's coming to a close, guys. If you're trying to figure out how to wrap up some marketing for this year or even begin marketing strategy for 2019, we want you to think about a Boss Blast because it's really a great way to do it.
And I'll tell you what, it's really reasonably priced as well, Gabby, because what's included is not only the actual marketing blast, but a consult with us, a list that's custom generated for you, the custom campaign designed by our designers, and a follow-up email as well. So it's not just one campaign. It's one campaign plus a follow-up campaign that happens 2 weeks later. And you get 2 meetings with Gabby and I to discuss.
And that's pretty priceless.
Yeah. Make sure you go to voboss.com and click on the marketing tab and look for the Boss Blast product. Welcome to the VO Boss Podcast. I'm your host, Anne Ganguzza, along with my amazing VO Boss bestie, Gabby Nistico. Hey, Gabby.
Hi.
Gabby, the last few days, I have been chasing down a client for payment.
Oh, never a fun thing.
Yeah, typically I don't have to do this, but this particular client has a very long net terms for payment, and I was writing an email and I started to say, I'm so sorry to inconvenience you. But I kept thinking to myself, all right, how am I going to gently approach this customer?
Hold on. How long have they owed you this money?
Well, it's going on 60 days.
Oh, hell no. Oh,
Yeah.
hell no. There's
right?
no apology. No.
Yeah, and I thought to myself, darn it, Ann, sorry, not sorry.
Bingo.
I find myself a couple of times I have to hold myself back from saying, oh, I'm sorry, or I didn't mean to inconvenience you, or feeling bad. I think it's something that a lot of people struggle with.
I think we should abolish the word sorry. There's only one place that I think sorry is an acceptable part of your vocabulary, and it works like this. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Could you say that one more time? That's acceptable. Outside of that application, or you stepped on somebody's foot accidentally, sorry doesn't have a place in business. It can't.
I agree with you there, Gabby. As strong, as I like to think I am, and a strong female entrepreneur, there are times that I don't know if it's just in my personality or what it is. I have to stop myself from feeling bad. And I almost have to have a mantra, Gabby, posted, on my vision board that just says, sorry, not sorry.
I think that's an excellent idea. Look, People pleasing is a topic that we have talked about and explored previously, and there's a lot of us that suffer from that, right? I mean, on some level, everybody wants to be liked and pleasing and pleasant, but not if it means sacrificing for ourselves. We have to be open and honest about the way we express ourselves and what we're feeling in any given situation. Apologizing because you're having to go track down the money that you're owed for a job? No.
And it's funny because I think about what I tell my students who, if I'm direct coaching them on a piece of copy, and they stop, they stumble, they stop, and they say, "Oh, sorry," and I'm always constantly saying, no, don't be sorry. Just pick it up and just start from the beginning of the sentence and just say it. It wastes time, number one. And you don't need to apologize for being human, for, stepping over your own tongue. And
no.
It's expected. And I'll tell you what, in a studio situation where you are being directed, it is probably, don't say you're sorry. If you do, you're essentially wasting your time, their time, the engineer's time.
I have been in sessions where if you gathered up all of the times the talent said, "I'm sorry," you'd have like 5 solid minutes of recording of just them, "I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, sorry. And it's so unnecessary. Your clients know that you're human, right? We make mistakes. We get tongue-tied. Nobody expects us to be infallible in the booth. That's not a thing. James Alberger, of the famed Voice Acting Academy in San Diego, James has a sorry jar, and I love that. Every single time one of his students says, "I'm sorry," they have to put $1 in the jar.
Oh, I like that idea.
It's a way to curb them and get them out of that habit so that they're not doing that in sessions. But that's just it. Why do we even do that? Why? For something that's not harmful.
And I'm not saying you should never apologize to your client. I just think that you shouldn't approach getting paid, number one, with a sorry, I don't mean to bother you. Any of that type of talk, whether it be verbal or through even an email. There's one thing to be professional. There's one thing to be, "I'm so sorry," and then it becomes needy and it becomes a little bit less professional looking.
It's weak. It leads with a lack of confidence, and it's apologetic, and I go, "Oh God, no, I don't want to do business with that person."
Well, Gabby, it's one of our rules in our negotiation process, right? You want to lead with confidence. There's no apologizing for things that should be due to you, right, for a job that is done. You perform services, and you are compensated for those services. What are your thoughts about the confidence in the booth in terms of saying, "I'm sorry," and what can you do to maybe curb outside of, if you're in your booth all by yourself, right? Maybe you have a sorry jar out there. What would you recommend?
So there's a couple of habits I try to get my students into relatively quickly. There's only one verbal cue that I permit in the booth, and it's the word "pick up." That's it. You make a mistake, you say "pick up." Why? You're giving the engineer a courtesy marker to know that there's a mistake there. That's all. You're giving yourself, if you're doing your own editing, a marker to know that there's a mistake there. That's permissible. Anything besides that word is not, because the minute you start "I'm sorrying," it kills your performance. It makes you shrink up and shrivel up, and all of a sudden you go into that meek place of like, "Oh, and I made a mistake," and then you make another mistake, and then it snowballs.
And then you physically, like you said, go into that meek state. Where is that meek? Pick up.
State.
Pick up. You physically go into that meek state. And that usually encompasses like your shoulders hunching forward, and that just doesn't, performance-wise, that doesn't do your vocals anyhow.
It takes your entire performance and starts to tank the whole thing. It all starts to kind of collapse inward. Now, I do, for my own purposes, I keep a little dog clicker.
Yes.
The booth.
I was going to mention that, the dog clicker, rather than to say "pick up." I think if you're in the booth by yourself and you're doing your editing, I think a clicker, a snap. I used to snap.
Yep.
I also used to like tap, I have a music stand in here. I used to like tap on the music stand, anything that will spike the waveform so that you know that you're heading into a pickup, or absolutely.
There you go. But here's the interesting thing. When we're alone, we don't do it. When we're by ourselves and we're editing for us, we don't apologize to ourselves when we make a mistake. It's only when we believe that there's a set of eyes or ears on us. Then we start apologizing.
And I've also just been in the booth where I've just it's obvious that I've stumbled, right? Everybody knows that I've stumbled. I just take a beat, take a breath, and I start from the beginning of the sentence. I say nothing. Yep. And usually the engineer in there is good and they're marking it.
Exactly. I just do it as a replacement technique because I would rather get people into the habit of saying pickup than saying I'm sorry. But eventually, you don't say anything. You just kind of back up to your last reasonable pause point and pick it up from there. We are starting to see a little bit of a trend in business where people are reframing or repurposing how they would apologize for something. And I think this might be a really good practice exercise for those of you who are out there dealing with a case of the I'm sorries. If you're running late, right? 10 minutes behind, instead of
Gabby,
to
no,
the meeting,
I don't ever run late.
No, never. So hypothetically, let's say Anne was running 10 minutes late.
No, let's say Anne was early because she's always early. Just saying.
Instead of I'm sorry I was late, say thank you for waiting for me.
I like that, Gabby. That's a good reframe.
Turn it into a positive, not a negative. Instead of it always having that negative connotation of like, oh, I'm sorry I did this. I'm sorry I made a mistake.
What a great idea, Gabby.
Even the word. I don't like the word. Like, listen to how we say it. Sorry.
Yeah,
sorry.
Exactly. Ugh. But yet if you say thank you, then it's a genuine, like, heartfelt thank you, comes from a more positive place. I can't imagine somebody saying thank you in that same tone. Thank you for waiting for me.
Yeah. Thank you for I would rather even hear somebody in the booth say thank you for putting up with my tongue tie there for a second. I just had to, get these words straight.
Yep.
That's fine.
Thank you. I'm here to entertain you with tongue tie. Thank you. I'm here to entertain you with my tongue being tied up in multiple places, multiple times. Thank you.
But it happens.
Honestly, Gabby, we can just go home because that was just the best piece of advice. To be able to turn that I'm sorry into a positive. And notice how even the two of us, right? We're smiling, we're laughing about it. It really can just, I think, change an entire situation from bad to wonderful.
And it's a practice thing. You have to practice this. You have to kind of dedicate yourself to it, to where you catch yourself and you stop that I'm sorry language and start to go, wait a second, how can I find a good here?
Well, I think that's great insight also into how to deal with clients who could potentially become difficult clients. In my emails, I'm always trying to start with the positive first because I don't want to assume anything. Now, I may be sitting at my desk fuming, saying, really? Like, they can't respond to me? Like, why are they not? I don't understand. I sent them the invoice weeks ago. If you start off professionally, thank you for your email response. I'm always thanking people in the beginning of my email because I don't want to start off being accusatory. Nor do I want to start off being sorry.
Yeah, but what about if it's on the front end? What about if it's in the negotiating stage? I can't tell you the number of times I've seen people say, well, I'm sorry, but my price is. That's a terrible thing to say.
Yeah.
That's a terrible way to word that. I'm sorry, but no, don't apologize for your rate. It's kind of the same thing. You've got to eradicate that language. The minute you start going, I'm sorry, I'm priced higher than the talent you're used to working with, whatever it might be, you're giving them the upper hand. You're telling that person that you've done something that lessens you.
Instead of, I'm sorry, it would maybe behoove you to maybe go into, I understand that you have a budget and I'm happy to hear your budget and try to work with that within my realm of negotiation limits or my realm of rate limits. I'm happy to try to work with you. So then it kind of turns that defiant no, or I'm sorry, these are my rates, and it changes the conversation. It changes the tone.
So, sorry.
Not sorry.
Not sorry. So powerful. And this was also in the news really recently. So let's talk a little bit about Serena Williams and what happened there. Like, she was on this, and she was standing up for herself.
She was not sorry. She
was,
absolutely.
And I don't think she was wrong.
I don't disagree either. She was demanding an apology, actually, from the referee. So I think she stood up for what she believed in. She made multiple statements, and I think that she handled it, more than handled it fairly. Then all of a sudden, people were claiming that she lost it. She was out of control, according to
Serena is so far from John McEnroe, it's not even funny.
Exactly.
You can't make that comparison. That's absurd.
Exactly.
But, she did make a statement that she believes, because she's a woman, that's why the reaction to this and the way it went down is what it is. You should go, wait a minute. Billie Jean King went through this. Yeah. That's what got us to the movie Battle of the Sexes, which, by the way, is great if you haven't seen it.
Oh, it's an amazing movie. Oh, and Gabby, not just Serena, but what about the Nike ad? There's a not apologizing for standing up, right? Sorry, not sorry. So however you feel, whatever your stance is on the Nike ad, who's right, who's wrong, there's a very clear statement that standing up for what you believe in and sorry, not sorry.
Yeah,
and I have to say, I give that a lot of respect. And I think that if you take that approach with your clients, they will respect that about you as well. And if they don't, then perhaps that's not the client that you want to be working with.
I agree. I also think it's a sign of wisdom. It's a sign of seasoning, of age in any industry, not just ours, but the entrepreneurs and the bosses who have been around longer are the least likely to apologize. It's usually the newbies, the young ones, right? So we want to get that phrase out of here as soon as possible.
Through the years, I have become stronger and stronger. And like I say, I still catch myself. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry. In my early part of my career and running my own business, I was that people pleaser. Oh, I'm so sorry. Whatever it was that kind of a meek sort of a person. And I'm going to say that you guys just keep this in mind, that it does take practice. It's not easy, but it really, I think, will pay off so nicely for all of you and for your businesses in the end.
I don't know if I would have liked that Anne. That Anne doesn't sound like my friend.
That was the Anne who wasn't sure how to run her business. In my heart, I still had that spirit where, what? But in my business, because I was treading new ground and I wasn't as familiar with, let's say, protocols or how should I, or now all of a sudden I was the one making my own decisions, asking for the money. I've never had asked for money before. Now that we're entrepreneurs, we are doing that. We're putting on those hats. We're asking for money. And that's something that I think takes practice.
Yes. It also takes an unapologetic chutzpah.
There you go. So, guys, sorry, not sorry. Be sorry if you step on somebody's foot. I would
then
say
you can be sorry.
Yeah.
Like if your husband's team loses, you can, I'm sorry, honey. That's okay. Like, that's cool. But outside of that, no.
I'd like to give a huge shout out to our amazing sponsor, IPDTL, always making us sound amazing, like we're next door to each other. I love them. So if you guys want to find out more, IPDTL.com.
And for all things Boss, you can check out all of the social medias, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, in addition to different podcast outlets like iTunes and Google Play and Stitcher. And, of course, the mecca of all things Boss, voboss.com.
Yes. You guys have a great week, and we'll catch you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Join us next week for another edition of VO Boss with your hosts, Anne Ganguzza and Gabby Nisterko. All rights reserved. Anne Ganguzza voice talent in association with 3 Moon Media. Redistribution with permission. Coast-to-coast connectivity via IPDTL.
Ass in the booth. Everybody get your ass in the booth. Ass in the booth.
Ass in the booth. Everybody, ass in the booth.
Ass in the booth, yeah. I bet Lewis took the pad off. Hold on.
What pad? What kind of pad are we talking?
It's a button. It's called the pad. It pads the decibel level so that you don't peak.
Oh.
And he's always taking it off, and I'm like, stop
with
that,
the pad.
Lewis? Yeah.
Lewis, don't with the pad.
No.
Lewis, stop. I get with the pad.
Stop it.
Bleep me out when you get that one. Have you been slacking at all?
Me?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Have you been in Slack to see what's going on?
Oh, that Slack. I thought you were asking me if I've been a lazy prick sitting around doing nothing. What?
No.
What?
Have you been a slacker? Hold on.
Okay.
Hold on, Gabby.
I'm holding. Anne, where are you? I'm all by myself.
Welcome to the VO Boss Podcast. I'm your host, Anne Oh my God. Gabby, I almost didn't know what my name was there for a minute. My shorts are stretchy. So literally by the time I open the door to go out of my shorts are like at my upper thighs.
Lovely. Okay.
It's good. That means my shorts are big.
Okay.